We are here live for a Flyers Talk podcast at the rink here at the Flyers practice facility for the NHL Trade Deadline, which has officially expired. Ashlyn Sullivan, Al Morganti here with you live, breaking down a couple of trades and a couple of players that still remain that are notable. That's for sure. Al, overall, it's a weird day. You go into that locker room after practice. There's guys leaving. There's guys finding out about trades in real time. It never gets old. What a strange day it is.
It's a really weird day, and of all the sports, this is the one where most movement takes place, even with a salary cap world. It's crazy. Your family's in one city 1 minute, 10 minutes later, you're headed to another country in some cases to go on. And the Flyers, have done some things today. I mean, it's been an eventful day. We'll get into the details of it. But as a player, and somebody who's covered the players for so long, I remember Sports Illustrated once did an entire edition on the trades of the day, transactions, but looked at what actually happened. Families having to go, schools having to be changed, all this stuff. And in this league, it happens at a macro scale within hours.
We see guys at times getting pulled off the ice, letting them know that they've been traded. And an example of that, Nick Delaurier was at the facility and got traded and walked into the room after practice and turned around and walked out. And it was weird, like you're not going to get to say goodbye to him because he's on the way to Carolina.
Bye, guys. The next time I see you, I'll be punching your lights out. From Carolina.
So Nick Delaurier is one trade, but by far the biggest trade, and I think that's going to impact the Flyers the most, is Bobby Brink going to Minnesota. A Minnesota guy gets to go home. A great opportunity for Bobby Brink, and we'll get into the details. But overall, I think the story, the turnaround of Bobby Brink is not getting enough credit. This is a guy that was healthy scratches for John Tortorella. It did not seem like it was going to work out here with the Flyers at one point with Bobby Brink. And now he is a trade candidate that you get a great player in return because Bobby Brink has deserved that.
Well, I never thought I'd get to say the Flyers traded Bobby Orr.
They sure did.
They traded Bobby Orr Brink. And I got to give John Tortorella a lot of credit for how good a player Brink has become. But when you really look at it, Ashlyn, the Flyers being so heavy with wings and Martone coming up, I think by the end of the year, it may only just be for 2 games if Michigan State goes all the way. And you look at the prospects they've got coming up. They've got some depth at wing. And I'm surprised that Minnesota, Brink's not a big player. That's usually the kind of player that trades places on a trade deadline. But they give up a defenseman, Jiricek, who the Flyers get, who has already been through 2 organizations. So they're looking at the upside on him, your defensive depth, the right-hand shot, in case Risto gets moved next year or at that point here. But
we have to talk about that again next year.
Yeah, well, you're going to go or the summer, or there's plenty of opportunities or you keep him.
Yeah.
He's played so well recently. But Brink really developed into, I thought, a really good player. I remember we'd watch him early, and Scott and I, we'd be watching him and going, he just doesn't have any boots. It didn't look like it. And then I forget which particular game was like, how did that happen?
I remember that last year.
Wow. How did that happen? Man. And all of a sudden, it's like, this is somebody that's worked at his game, worked at the defensive parts of it. All of a sudden, pretty good player against the wall to make plays happen. Real big part of a line that became really effective. So, there's a lot that will happen now with this. There's a possibility Michkov moves to the other side of the ice. All kinds of stuff happens. But on a personal level, if you're going to be traded, I know these Minnesota guys, they want to go back to the Land O'Lakes there.
Yes, they do.
Eventually. But it's a good spot for him on a really, really good team.
Yeah, I think Bobby Brink can flourish in an opportunity like this. And I think with the Flyers, he was the guy that really turned around his career, his season here. But overall, you mentioned the depth at wing. It didn't make sense, especially when you have some questions at defense. But you look at Jiricek. The Flyers do this a lot where I feel like they give players second chances. And at times it doesn't work out, but it's no doubt his ceiling is high, but there's a reason he's been through a couple of organizations.
This would be a third chance.
Yeah.
Let's make it clear here. Now, a really high draft pick. Really high. So Columbus doesn't like his skating development or whatever. But there's no doubt, no matter what the complaints are with his game or the weaknesses of his game, so to speak, he's got a shot. And you look at what they've been trying to get Drysdale to get that shot to go through. Risto at times, like, okay, let's try to work with this. And you have a position where players tend to get better. Look at Sanheim. They're fortunate. They don't make the trade that Krug would have come here. But you look at that, like when you're looking at defensemen, sometimes it takes a while to develop. Now, skating's an issue that's not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
To kind of overcome, although you become a smarter player as you go along. But they could certainly use that shot, coach them up, so to speak. But if it works out, you got a pretty good deal going on. Get a defenseman. And as I mentioned earlier, if eventually Ristolainen goes, you've got that right-handed shot defenseman there. But that's somebody that he's going to be it's a high risk player in terms of, well, look what you traded. What did you get?
Yeah.
But if you can develop him at 22 years old, now that's still, I mean, I know in hockey terms, it's like 4 years of college already gone. But I mean, that's still young to try to develop a player.
Right, with such skill at one point. You look, he was the 6th overall pick. He was the pick behind Cutter Gauthier. So he had all the talent in the world to make a team draft him that high. That talent has got to still be there. It might just take the right system. You see this all the time where a player gets into the right opportunity. I think, for example, Jamie Drysdale was just telling us about that with Dan Vladar, that sometimes you just need new scenery to get the most out of a player. You got to hope this pays off, because if it does, then this will go down as a great trade for the Flyers.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they've got that eye to the future with, look, a guy like Brink, you are looking at Martone, we mentioned earlier. So, okay, now let's try to go from, get our defense. Get our defense kind of stabilized a little bit. Just in terms of what you have coming up. Bonk coming up. Now you've got another defenseman possibly coming in. So you've got your depth chart a little deeper going in. There's no such thing as a can't miss anymore. I mean, Columbus probably thought they had a can't miss with him, and Minnesota might have thought they had a can't miss. And now it's like, 3 strikes and you're out. So he's pretty much down to that. Yeah, he's down to that third one. So sometimes that plays in too. It's like, it's got to happen now.
And pretty unbelievable storyline here, because we talk about this every single trade deadline. Rasmus Ristolainen still here with the Flyers. We know the asking price was high. It is a point of topic, point of controversy. I'm of the team that asking price should be high. With the way that he is playing, with the way that he can change an organization, Danny B didn't get what he wanted for him, and that's why he's still a Flyer, and I have nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I would ask for a lot. I mean, you're holding all the cards here with Ristolainen. He's got time left on the contract. So if you want to go into next year, even the draft this year, whatever. But he's been a good player if he can stay healthy to go in. And if I was, God forbid, I'm a general manager, whatever. But if I'm with the Flyers, like, I need help at center. I need some prospects at center. I'm holding out, and if I'm going to look at Buffalo, I want their young centerman prospect, the Finn Hellenius. I'm going to say, oh, look, I'm not moving. This is a particular player whatever player that it is that you particularly want. You have some, you're in a position of, I don't have to do this right now. And you're going to get a lot for him because it's not a rental. Got another year to go. He's a very, low maintenance guy. Yeah. And I'm not talking about injury. It's a high maintenance and gets hurt. But I mean, he's kind of like wind him up and send him out there, right? I mean, he didn't complain about anything. I mean, if I'd been in the league that many years, not been in the playoffs, and I mean, I might.
You'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'd be a nightmare after 10 minutes without it. But I mean, no, I mean, he's a pretty easy to deal with guy and a big guy, a physical guy, which is why he's worth a lot. So I didn't think that they would be, persuaded without an absolute slam dunk. This is the guy we want from whoever it is. I thought if it was me, it would be like, I'd want a position at center, a prospect there, and maybe somebody that can get right now.
The lights are off at the practice rink. Just kidding. They're back on. Maybe Danny made a trade. Just kidding.
No, I think if he made a trade now, it's illegal. It can only go to 3:00.
Live here at the Flyers practice facility. Nick Delaurier is a player that has done so much for the Flyers organization. You could always depend on him to bring the juice on the ice, a guy that brought intensity, traded to Carolina for a 2027 conditional 7th-round pick. We get it. Very underwhelming.
Yeah.
To me, this is a bit of a favor to a player that has done a lot for the organization.
Yeah, you go in and when you needed the energy, he'd bring the energy, willing to go out and, even a couple of games ago, go out with Janot and just have a real heavyweight bout right there. So, he's a guy that, quote, locker room guy, whatever. But in this league, there's still room for somebody like that. So, good on him if he goes there. I don't imagine in playoffs it adds much, but there's always a threat. You just never know. And, maybe, as you mentioned, maybe a favor, go to a really good spot right now.
Right. And for Nick Delaurier, the guy that probably is on the tail end of his career, and talking to him throughout this season, a great teammate, but you could tell not playing was bothering him, as it should. It would bother any athlete, any competitor. Wasn't getting the ice time here. The writing was on the wall that it just didn't seem like there was a solidified role here for him, except for what you're watching right now, which is fighting and bringing his teammates into it.
And I don't know how long you can do that, Ashlyn, without, I mean, even when you quote win a fight, I mean, there's some price to pay. We mentioned the fight he had in Boston. We see, he's got the jackhammer going there time and again. I mean, not more than willing to do it time and again, but all it takes with these guys, they're living on the edge all the time. You get buried in one of these things, literally, and your career might be at its end. And you have to be prepared to do it every night. To go out and do that. So it's a tough spot, and I know just not playing a lot, getting even a little bit of ice time, that wears on you too. But how many times we watch after practice? I mean, I thought he was going to have a shoulder injury from all the extra shots he'd take to get goalies or whatever ready or whatever. So I mean, anything they asked, he'd do.
Yes, very good guy, great teammates. Wishing him well in Carolina. And you look at overall this trade deadline as we get ready for Danny Briere to address the media and find out more about his mindset with this trade deadline. It's tough. To me, it's underwhelming. And I'm impatient. I get fan bases are impatient. You want to see someone that can make a difference. And I think the Flyers will look back at this trade deadline and it will be a difference eventually, but you want it right now. And the patience is wearing thin.
Yeah, but they weren't in that spot, Ashlyn, like Buffalo. Like they're going to go to after everything they've been through, longer than the Flyers. It's like, okay, give us something because we're excited. We're going to the playoffs. Give us a piece. Maybe we'll go more than a round or whatever. Just all pumped up for it. I don't know that there was anything that the Flyers could do here. I mean, to bring something in and really change the dynamic for this year. I look at it like, Laura, now there's room for Martone to come up. And we have another defenseman here, so we got a little bit of depth there. So that's the way I look at this. I think the thing that many people wanted was more subtraction that went on. And I don't know there's much more you can, TK and Sanheim. Tippett. I mean, these are guys that you have to have some nucleus to your team coming in. So, I mean, for everybody that said we need to tear it down, it's been a long time between playoffs here until, it may be, depending on who makes the playoffs this year, and they may be in a spot where they're the NHL team with the longest drought going into next year. So you want room to bring people up here. And, I know everybody's excited trade deadline, but there is the draft and things move quickly at a draft when you have people that you can move or personnel that you can move. You have that, you got all summer, and then you can come into next year and see more correctly what you have. It gives you a little window here. Like I said, maybe you see Michkov go to the other side this time. So we'll see what's left. I don't think there was anything, Ashlyn, that you could have done here and say, this is going to really make our playoff push here. That's a big hill to climb at this point.
It is, and that's unfortunate. And it was telling to me, we just spoke to Noah Cates after practice, and he had just found out about Bobby Brink being traded to Minnesota, a guy that he is very close to. You could tell he was pretty bummed about it, but happy for his friend, happy for the opportunity. And Noah Cates got asked, are you frustrated because it just seems like every single trade deadline, it's subtraction. When are you going to add? And it was so telling, Noah Cates saying that we don't deserve to add right now because we're not playing at that level to add. You hear Danny Briere say it all the time, and I get it is noise at some points, but the players will dictate what the Flyers will do at the trade deadline. They had a chance to be in the conversation. They went on that big losing streak, and now that chance of adding went out the window.
Yeah, I didn't think there was much chance that you're going to do that here with what's happened. I mean, when you have a season in which the 3-game winning streak is the high point. Well, you need an 8 or a 9. I mean, look what happened in Buffalo. They turned it around. It was like weeks, months, it seemed like, when they didn't lose a game. You never had that. The shame to me with what's gone on this season, or the unfortunate part, is the goaltending's been so good. With Vladar. I mean, when you look at what they've added, it's like, wow, we had a season, an unexpectedly, to me, remarkably good season from a goaltender. And in this league, you get that kind of goaltending. That's something you should be able to turn into, if not gold, at least silver, to come in and do something like that. This was to me, it was a wasted season in terms of above expected goaltending from the club. On the other hand, you might have found that number one goalie. I didn't think so. I thought it'd be 1A, 1B situation coming in here. This Vladar's come in is like, man, night after night, give up you get 3 goals, you're probably going to win the game. It's pretty good in this league right now. So, I mean, that's where, that's the plus you might have had from this season at this point. The goaltending, Vladar's goaltending has been very, very good.
Especially when you look at, I think when you talk about the draft and how quickly this can move, I think Denver Barkey is a great example of that. And I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Porter Martone could move that quickly. Denver Barkey was a guy that was in the juniors. We heard so much about him. Can he stick? Is he going to go back down? And then Denver Barkey dictated play that he's going to stay up here and he's going to be a piece. If you get a couple more young players like that to get excited about, I think this is a different story next year.
Yeah, Barkey's been good at games. You could see, I mean, we see him at practice, whatever. He's not the biggest guy. And you don't have to be in this league anymore, but you've got to be strong. And he really has to fill out. He's got to get stronger. You can see a dip in his game, back-to-back games or whatever at times. So he certainly he's got a much higher ceiling than what we've seen here. There's no denying the energy, the leadership traits that he has, the willingness that he has, the energy that he has, as you mentioned. But when I look at Martone, now that's a bigger player to come in and play a more powerful game, at least from what we've seen at Michigan. I mean, he's been terrific at Michigan State. So, I mean, that's what I think most people are looking forward to. I'm assuming even if the Spartans win the NCAA, I think there'll be 2 games left on the Flyers schedule. I'd be disappointed if even for those 2 games, he's not here because that's how much. No, I think as an organization, your fan base has been waiting and waiting. I don't think it's out of context to say even for a couple of games we're going to bring him in. That's how much we expect of him, and I think that helps a player to come in and this is how much they think of me. Of course, I'll probably be fired from that GM job for coming, but I watched Johnny Gaudreau. God rest his soul, when he was with BC, to go in just a couple of games with Calgary or whatever. I mean, it says something to the player. This is how highly prized you are to us.
And we say it all the time. I'm always team, you got to send a message to the fans. You got to get fans on board. You think much more logically and say you can't dictate play based on what the fans think. But I do think with Porter Martone, it shows the fans, it gives them hope, it gives them a glimpse into the future.
Yeah.
And with the way this season is going, even if it's just for 2 games, that matters to me.
Yeah, and this organization will never dismiss the fans. You can't. In Philadelphia, well, except for the process, you can't dismiss the fans. I mean, it shouldn't work. I mean, you pay money to see the games, and there's something to having a fan base now that almost has been forced to look to the future to a guy like Martone. Hey, how many highlights did we have of Karagoche before, he made it known that he didn't want to play here? It's like this guy, and I think we were right. Like, look at this. Look at the shot this guy has. Look at the expectations. It didn't work out because he just didn't want to be here. But Martone absolutely wants to be here. And I think it's good when you've got a fan base that has some kind of preview into that player. They're watching. I mean, these highlights are everywhere right now.
They are. And I know it's when Jordan Hall writes about any of the prospects, it is a big article on the website. A lot of people are clicking on it. So there's definitely interest there. But overall, when you look at the Flyers right now, and it's tough because they still seem far away. And that is what is unfortunate. And with Danny Briere and Rick Tocchet, your hope was you just made it one step closer in this rebuild process that has been a long time. Maybe because of Dan Vladar, you could say you took a step in the right direction, but in other aspects of the game, I don't feel confident saying that, and that's what's tough.
Well, because you look at your top 6 or whatever, you look at the depth at center, and that's really a problem. A glaring need, but you look throughout the league, and I actually want to explore this a little bit, what's happened to centers or centermen
There's none of them.
Well, how did this happen where it became that difficult to play that position, to go find anybody? You look at, and people were, how did Dvorak, how did you give him that kind of extension? Look at what these centermen cost at the trade deadline.
You had no choice.
Third line centerman.
Or someone else would paid more for
Well, exactly. So if you have a guy like that, he's an easily tradable commodity in the future. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think when you're looking at their far away, where's that position? Where's your number one D? Sanheim's a very good defenseman. Looks like a number one D on some nights, but there's got to be somebody else too. And now your goaltending looks like it might be fixed. So, but when you say far away in hockey, I don't know how far away, because with the 3-point games, I mean, 5-point difference in games. You all of a sudden you have a playoff spot you might be looking at. So I don't think they're that far away in terms of just getting to the playoffs. So I mean, and if Michkov has a better start to the season next year, so we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But there's a lot of what ifs or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there is some chance that these kids come along quicker. I like the fact that this might fast track some of this. I personally would like to see, okay, maybe we have Barkey comes up, maybe Bonk gets a look, or we'll see what happens with, they just get Jiricek. Who knows what happens? And and Martone. I think that might happen. The other problem is when people say tank or whatever, this lottery that they have, when you're the worst team in the league and your percentage of getting the top pick is 18%, that's not that good.
Yeah. There's no tanking.
Well, I mean, there's only 3 times in the last 6 years the worst teams got the top pick. Mm-hmm. Last year, the 12th worst team got the top pick and got a tremendous defenseman. So I don't know that you can even go that route anymore.
No, and it's just, that's not hockey. I think anyone that you follow this league and you grew up with the sport knows that that's impossible to even mention that as a possibility.
Well, in this league, I mean, how many games are 1-goal games?
Yeah.
I mean, most of them are 1-goal games. I mean, it's just, I don't care what level. It's like, it's 1-goal games. And that's how close you can be. So you get one player that makes that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the winger that comes in and maybe Michkov goes off next year, Martone's is what you expect, anything like that. Or you go out and you find that number one centerman somewhere. But they've got pieces now to move.
Waiting on Danny Briere for
come on, Danny.
Press conference. I know it. Well, he's busy.
Well,
a big day.
Well, this happens at the trade deadline. I've covered enough. Sometimes that 255 trade takes a while to kind of filter because through the league.
And there's another one.
Well, you see what's happened. All of a sudden, a lot of these players have these NMs, the no movement clauses. And we saw 2 years ago, I think, a team actually traded somebody. I think it was Ottawa. And they didn't tell the other team, he's got a no movement, so they tried to move him again. So you have to make sure. And this year we saw players reject trade. So even if you want to do something very late, 255, whatever, it may take a while to get through, to get all the formalities done, all the T's crossed, and I's dotted before it goes through.
Seen a lot of commotion here at the Flyers facility and some big trades overall in the NHL.
All the Flyers brass are leaving, so everything's done.
That must mean they got a flight in Pittsburgh. I think a 4:15 flight.
Hey.
Hi guys. Yes, 4:15 confirmed. So yeah,
4:15.
Things are moving here. That's for sure. Capitals, huge. What they did.
The Capitals. They move a storied player to go out and. That's the kind of guy, though, when you're a team out west, like that's so open out there. You go and you get a veteran player, can make a big difference here. That's where, when you look at it and say, well, Ristolainen really could have helped somebody. That's why your ask has to be so much.
Thought for sure it was going to be the Dallas Stars. I thought, to me, it made all the sense in the world.
Well, the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Stars are also a team, to me, which when I looked at Minnesota and we mentioned Brink, but they also got Foligno, a bigger player. That's why when I said sometimes a trade deadline, a smallish player, because Minnesota probably going to have to deal with Dallas. Mm-hmm. Those are monsters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens here. So that's why I liked Brink as a player a lot. But we mentioned the wing situation, and to get anything at a trade deadline for a guy that's not 6 feet tall is a pretty good deal for you.
Right. And now with Rasmus Ristolainen, he has still here with the Flyers, and we'll see what happens this summer. But I will promise Risto that we will not ask him these questions next trade deadline, because you simply can't do it anymore.
But it doesn't seem to matter to him.
I know, but I feel bad.
We see the interviews, and it's like, but I think sometimes guys say, I'm not bothered by it. You can tell they're like a duck. They're paddling underneath and not letting.
Please stop asking me that.
Well, Risto is like, okay, whatever. I honestly think he's got that whatever attitude. It's like not a bad attitude, but it's like
it doesn't affect him.
There are certain people that, it's what am I supposed to do about it? I can't worry about it. If I go somewhere, I'll play my best there. If I stay here, I'll play my best here. And I felt good for him with the Olympic.
Yeah.
Because when you play in this league that many years, Buffalo and then here, and not be in the playoffs, that's tough.
Yeah, it is. And for Rasmus, you feel for him, because he just last night, crazy to think about this, played his 800th career game. None of them in the playoffs. And that is a tough sell, even for someone like Travis Konechny. We just did an interview with him about 10 days ago, and he was honest that he wanted to see some additions here at the trade deadline. He felt like they needed more pieces. I just worry at times about the players in this locker room. How much longer can you sell this message to them?
Yeah, but see,
and I get it's their job.
Yeah,
I get it.
Konechny to me is he's in an interesting spot. He's a team leader. He loves the area, obviously been here forever. When you've been through what he's been through here, with this kind of fan base, you watch the Eagles, you watch the Phillies, everything that's gone on in the playoffs and the postseason. Travis Konechny has never won a playoff game in Philadelphia. Only played 3. Now the bubble, much as everybody tried to make the best of it, it was not reality. It was like miniature golf compared to real golf. But it was just, I didn't have a feel. I mean, the crowd to kind of, you can paint as many pictures as you want in the stands. It doesn't matter. You want that feeling of a playoff game in Philadelphia. And that's where, a guy like Sanheim and a guy like Konechny. Now, Sanheim gets to go to the Olympics. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. It makes a season for you to come in. That's a big, big, big plus. And what you could do ends up with the silver, but you're playing for a gold, playing for your country. Konechny, after playing in the Four Nations, doesn't go to the Olympics, and then this team doesn't go to the playoffs. I gave him high marks for just keeping that engine churning to go, but there'll be a point where it's like, I just need playoff hockey.
Yeah, and someone like Travis Konechny is never going to quit on his team and his talents. He's just not a guy like that. But at some point, it's like, gosh, you got to make it for guys like that.
And he's not. This is how 2 different personalities can just react to the same thing. Like, with Risto, it's like, yeah, I'll just try my best. I'm sure it eats at him, but there are guys that wear it on their sleeve, and Konechny's one of those guys that wears it on his sleeve.
Yes, big time. As we are awaiting Danny Briere's press conference, I know that they're getting on a flight to Pittsburgh soon. I wonder if he's on the flight.
No, he's got to come in and deal with the questions asked, and everything that we're asking here, he'll have to. I'm curious when you're a general manager, how much you kind of share with people. Like how close were you to trade in Ristolainen? There's that real. I
would say nothing.
Well, that's what I would say. But you have to give something because you're talking to the fans.
Yeah.
So they want to know, we really needed something. How close did you come to this? How competitive were people in this? What did you expect to get? They don't want a general manager that just kind of said no to everything and didn't. I think what most people want to hear is, we really had something. We had some offers, but we just think he's too good a player to let go at whatever price. But the fans want some information, and they deserve it.
They
to say, like, we did everything we could. You have to answer questions about Brink. And the Brink questions are going to be really intriguing. Like, how much is the fact that you can move Michkov to the other side? What does Martone play into this? Were you thinking about this? Sometimes you have to read body language when they're answering the question.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot that goes into that. Like, I don't want to know just A. I want to know how A affected B and C and D down the line. And what did your scouts think of Jiricek? Why do you think you can get more out of this guy than the two previous
That's gonna be
organizations.
fascinating.
Yeah.
What tells you about what you've seen on tape and the scouts and the game action, and how are you going to build around him? Like, how are you going to give him the best opportunity to flourish here? That's my biggest question right now. I'm wondering who he's going to be paired with.
I'm wondering if it'd be here.
Yeah.
I mean, you go down and, who's going to, who are you depending on in your coaching staff to bring him along? Can you give me a comparison on what a defenseman maybe that's come along later? Maybe Sanheim.
Yeah.
That's come along later.
People completely wrote him off.
What kind of player do you think he can be? And what did you see that maybe other people didn't see in this, to make a trade like this? And would you have taken him, maybe in that draft? Where did you have him rated in that draft when he was taken 6th?
He should be in there. These are good questions. I'll tell you what, it's almost like he's a reporter. Okay, we are going to go to break right now, and when we come back, we promise Danny Briere.
You promise. I'm not promising anything.
I'm promising everything. Hold me to it. Danny Briere live at the podium coming up.
Danny, in regards to Bobby Brink, he's a young forward. He's been a lot of growth over the past couple of seasons. What was the thinking behind him getting him to Minnesota?
Hey, it was not an easy one. I was part of the development staff when Bobby came along. We had some long discussions about his future and his career. So to having been part of that and then to see him blossom into the player that he has become, there's selfishly a lot of pride in that. So it wasn't an easy one to let go of. But when you look at the way our team is coming along, and you look at the depth that we're building on the wings, the Konechny, Michkov, Tippett, Zegras, and then you have Tyson, who's going to come back next season. You have Martone that's getting close. You have Barkey, who surprised us this year and how well he's played. You have Alex Bump, and then there's other young guys that are behind that are also pushing. It was tough. I mean, at some point we were going to have to make a change or trade some wingers for other position. And when that kind of came in yesterday, we started thinking in the chance to add a big, young, strong defenseman like David. We felt that was a good opportunity for us to look towards the future. Had another hopefully big piece down the road to our decor. Adding the size, and we've talked about that. I know you guys have asked me the questions about the smallish defenseman before, and I get it too. It's reality. We felt a good swing to take on a promising young defenseman. So that was the reason behind Bobby Brink trade.
What went into deciding to keep Rasmus Ristolainen and?
But you guys made a big story. I didn't know I was trying to sell them. You guys made it sound like we were dumping Risto for next to nothing. Look, at the end of the day, Risto has a lot of value to our team. I wasn't trying to dump Risto. I wasn't trying to get rid of him. I think the media turned it into a little bit of a circus, to be honest. And that's okay. I get it. It's part of the job, part of my job to deal with that. But the reality is, Risto is an important part of our defense. He's still under contract next season. So we weren't looking to dump him. Where do you find, 6'4" physical top four right shot defenseman? There's not a lot, and we saw it on the market. And yes, when that came out, I did get a lot of calls. And we took them seriously. We went through, all the teams that were serious. But at the end of the day, it just did not make sense value-wise. There's nothing that made more sense to trade him for what he brings. Risto's an important leader in our room. I can promise you that our guys prefer having him on their side than playing against him. He's a type of defenseman that brings guys to the fight because, he runs around, he hits guys, and he pisses off the opponents. There's a lot of value to that, and at the end of the day, it made more sense. We listened, but it made more sense to have Risto with us.
I guess with regards to the Risto situation, though, you guys add. Jiricek, a right-handed shooting defenseman. You have Oliver Bond coming up, another right-handed shooting defenseman. Who knows when he's going to be ready, but he's not far. Is there a concern that by keeping Risto, you're boxing those guys out, in the near?
No, it goes, and I know you've asked me the question, the same thing with our wingers, our young wingers coming. I think it was early this season, and and it's kind of the same thing there, right? When they're ready, we're going to make room for them. A little bit like the Bobby Brink trade. We feel guys are almost there, and we're trying to make a little bit of room. It's the same thing. I can't say that David and Oliver Bunk are ready today. to come in, especially in a top 4 position. It's one thing to come in and play in a bottom pairing as they start, but they haven't even done that yet. So, I think they need a little bit more time, and we need to protect them a little bit. You asked those 2 young guys to come in and play. I mean, Ristol's playing top pairing with Sanheim right now. I don't think it would be fair to ask David or Oliver to play those minutes yet. We hope that at one point it comes to that, but I don't think they're ready for that role yet. And Risto has shown since he's come back that he can handle those minutes. He's shown at the Olympics as well how valuable he can be for a team. So we hope they get there, but we want to protect them as well along the way.
With regards to Risto, and I don't expect you to go into the details of what you wanted for him, but can you reveal if there was ever a first-round pick on the table for him?
I don't like discussing that. I don't think it's fair for the other teams either. To start putting stuff out. All I can tell you is that the value wasn't as high as we needed it for us moving forward.
Was David a player that you specifically targeted, or was this circumstantial where you found a team that was interested in Brink and he was a player that was intriguing to you? Because, he's obviously been moved before.
Yeah.
Were you interested in him even before he went to Minnesota?
Yeah, we inquired about him. We were in the mix before when he was traded to Minnesota. We were very interested. I didn't think he was going to be available. And all of a sudden, we started talking with Minnesota, and they liked Bobby. He's from there too, so there's something special there. They knew Bobby very well because of him being from Minnesota. And all of a sudden, the conversation turned to that. And if you think about it, I mean, they paid a huge price for David when they acquired him. I think he was supposed to be part of their future, and all of a sudden, they re-sign Kaprizov, they trade for Quinn Hughes, and everything opens up for them, and they become, contenders this year. And David was, a piece for them because they felt he was not ready to play a big heavy role that we just talked about yet. So he became a piece that they could go out and use to acquire someone that can help them. So that's kind of how it came around. And the price was we felt reasonable at this point since we had so many wingers.
Where do you guys feel as a scouting staff, whatever it is, where he's at in his development?
David. So yeah, we feel I think a little bit about Jamie Drysdale. Totally different style of players, but I think about the development of Jamie Drysdale, where they both came in at 18 years old. It was probably a little too early to turn pro yet. Go through some ups and downs, probably lose their confidence along the way. So he's going to need some love. He's going to need some reps, especially. He needs time. He needs to play a lot of minutes. And build his confidence. The talent is there. It's working with him. And defensemen, it seems, they need time. We saw it with Jamie. To see him kind of come into his own this year is really exciting. But we went through a learning curve with Jamie. I expect kind of the same thing with David. We're going to give him the chance to build his game. We're going to work with him. I really like what Todd Reardon and Rick Tockett's staff has done with a lot of our young guys, especially Jamie on defense. So we hope the same kind of wave can be on for David.
Danny, you just mentioned the logjam wing, and that kind of led to one of the Bobby things going on here. You also mentioned Trevor's name when you were talking about the wings.
Yep.
You have made it well clear that your number one need is center.
Yeah.
Trevor plays both. What is the philosophy right now that you guys feel? Trevor hasn't played much center this year, but where do you guys see him going forward?
Well, he's been at his best when he played the wing this year. That's just the reality. I wish I could say the opposite. I wish I could say he's much better when he plays center, but the reality is he's been at his best when he plays with TK and Dvorak. So that line has been our best line for a while now. So that's why I kind of have him when I mentioned the wingers that put his name on there, because he's been mostly on the wing. But there's always the possibility, and you see it some games. He's played a few games in the middle. We know he can play the middle as well, but he just seems to have some chemistry with Dvorak and TK at the moment, and that's why I put him more on the wing.
Going back to Jiricek for a second, what do you see him? What do you see his potential as? Like, do you think he has the potential to be the impact guy that teams thought they were getting when he was a top 10 pick? Has that been lowered a bit because of how his post-draft development has gone? How high are you on his upside?
Well, the potential is high. He hasn't maybe come out of it or come out of his draft year as maybe as high as people expected. And look, that's why he's available as well. If he was playing like Matthew Schaefer, we wouldn't be talking about him. But we still see a high potential, and 21, 22-year-old 6'4" defensemen of his caliber are tough to find. We know we have to work with him. We need to be patient. We need to give him a little bit of rope to develop him. But like I said, that's why I go back to the Jamie Drysdale learning curve. Gives us hope that he can get on the same track and eventually become a difference maker for us.
Danny, before the season, Keith Jones mentioned how you guys felt like you owed it to maybe some of your best players to try not to subtract as much this year, maybe keep the team building. Did that factor into not shedding more players that you guys are trying to?
Not really, no.
Okay.
And I know we've said that. Look, the reality is we are where we are in the standings. It's not just the 6 points. It's also having to leapfrog. I think it's 4 or 5 teams. That's probably the toughest part. If we're just chasing one team, it's one thing. But no, we looked mostly for value in the Bobby Brink trade for David. When we talked about the different teams with Risto, it was the same thing. It was about value. The plan never changed as far as looking for the future. That's just the reality. But I expect us to keep playing to win every single game. We're building winners, and we don't want to cut corners or tell them to not win. I really, from day one, I really believe that that's important for the culture of what you're trying to build, and that's gonna keep going.
Yeah, you have two forward spots open now. What is maybe the plan moving forward?
Well, we picked up Luke Glendening on waivers. That's going to be one there, and then TK being on a day-to-day. We're looking to see where he is for tomorrow. Then we have Barkey's been with the team. Now he's probably going to come back for the game tomorrow, and then we'll look to other possibility. I think Alex Bump would probably be the next guy in line. Sort of, give him a look. He's played well since he's been back from his injury. So, and we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Alex Bump at some point from here before the end of the season.
So you sent Barkey down favorite transaction for playoffs?
Correct. Yeah. Adam Jennings as well.
With regards to Jiricek again, you mentioned about him not being ready for the minutes that Risto has. Is he going? Do you envision him coming back up this season to play at the NHL level?
Yeah,
I
didn't make him any promises, but yeah, at some point, if we have the chance, we'd like to give him a look and give him a few games. The most important we felt is for him to start in Lehigh, get high minutes and lots of reps, and if things go well, I'd like to see him play a few games here, and get him ready for next season would be the ideal part.
Going back to the center position, did you actively try to get some help here, or did you say I'm going to be patient, wait for maybe some
We
of the
looked,
young guys?
yeah, we looked into it. A few of the high-end centermen that were in the trade market, or their names were like we checked on that. We had some discussions. Right now, it's been tabled to closer to the draft. We'll look back into that. But we looked into it. We're aware. We know that it's an area we'd like to improve. It's all about timing and value, and when the best time that you can get the best value for it. But we're aware. We never hid from the fact that we'd like to improve that position.
You kind of just hinted at it, but I know you can't get into specifics. But how much of the conversations that you have over the past week or so, or whatever, is something that you say, put in the back pocket, let's revisit this?
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of that actually. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion that it's just not working out right now. It doesn't fit right now, but let's keep this open, and it happens quite a bit. And one example I can give you that it kind of happened like that is Trevor Zegras. It was almost a year and a half, or close to 2 years, that we had different discussions with Anaheim, and you push it back. Okay, is it a good timing? So at one point it's not good for you, then it's not good for the other side, and it's all a timing thing sometimes. But you're always planting different seeds here and there, and you revisit them to see if things change along the way for the other team, and it happens quite a bit actually.
Danny, one of the prevailing thoughts, I guess, would be at some point, especially considering where the free agent class is in 2026, you're going to have to take a big swing on a trade for a player, probably a center. Do you feel, after this deadline is now come and gone, are you feeling more pressure? Maybe pressure is the wrong word, but are you more inclined to try and do that in the off season before next season? I guess to maybe do that.
It's all about value, and also your draft pick as they get closer. I think we were talking about that. It was maybe about a year ago, where once you draft players, you get to know them. They become they have more and more value. It's tougher to let them go, but at the same time, we have a lot of good young players that are coming. We have more and more assets. 3 years ago, we almost had nothing to work with as far as good young players coming. So it wasn't enticing for other teams to trade guys to us. But more and more, the way our young guys are coming along, and a lot of centers, those are always a lot of value. We have more and more assets, and that's going to hopefully give us the chance to get in on a player, or sometimes one of those players is just going to, come and take it. Maybe kind of like Barkey did this year, surprised us a little bit. There's going to be some opportunities for our young guys to do that as well.
A few more questions. You guys obviously know where you guys are at in the standings right now. You guys didn't really sell that many people off, and you didn't really buy anything. What do you feel like the plan going forward is? Is it to more, try to make a little bit of more push, or are you guys going to start focusing on, like you said, calling out some of the younger guys? Yeah,
it's about keeping playing the right way and staying competitive, playing hard. And that's what I love with our group. To start with, Rick Tocchet, how competitive he is. He's going to work hard to keep developing our guys the right way, and especially our young guys. The work that he's done with a lot of those young guys tonight, this season. I go back to Matvey, And I know I came out a couple weeks ago, and there was uproar with that. But since then, like, Matvey has really taken a step. He's played much better. It's been fun to see the development of Zegras, Barkey, Grabenkin. I was really excited to see Tyson Forster. He had the hot start. I think he was on to have a great season. And I could go on. Tippett has played more and more consistent. So there's so many good things that I want, and I hope that we keep getting better and better. And if somehow we can get back in a playoff hunt, that would be great. And if not, then we'll get ready for next season. But that's what I expect from our team.
Is there any update on Forster? Any update on Forster?
Yeah, Tyson is doing really well. I think when we announced he had the surgery that he was going to be out until the playoffs or somewhere the beginning of the playoffs, he's pretty much on pace. So it would be nice if we could get in the playoff hunt, but so far it's going well. He's starting to skate and shoot pucks, so he's trending in the right direction. And I know he's going to start knocking on my door soon to get back in the lineup earlier. He's just that type of person. He's going to push to get back earlier, so we'll see what happens. But it's exciting.
Were you able to reveal the nature of that surgery, the Forster surgery? I don't think that was ever announced.
Okay, yeah, I just had surgery, upper body surgery, somewhere in the upper body area.
Is there any update on Nick Sealer?
Nick is day to day. I don't believe he'll play tomorrow, but after that, everything is possible. So he's really close.
Just a comment on Nick Delaurier.
Yeah, well, Nick has been a great teammate, a great protector for our guys for the last few years. We had a discussion, him and I. Nick wasn't looking to leave. He loves it here. I think he even said his family is not going anywhere. They're staying in the area. But he said, if you need to trade me, I'm open to it. I don't have a problem. So I said, look, we're not trying to trade you, but if you want to have the chance to go chase a cup, we would give you that opportunity. I had a chat with Carolina. They were interested, and Nick was interested in chasing that as well. So it's one of those things, Nick has earned that right for everything that he's done for his teammates and for our players, our organization. I felt it was the right thing to do for him.
Real quick, on Glendening, was the idea of adding him to give you guys? I know you guys have struggled a little bit with face-offs in your defensive zone in the short term. Is that thing having a right-hand face-off guy in your own end? Yes,
it's part of it. And since we lost Rodrigo, that made it tough. I mean, Talk even put Grundstrom lately in the middle. It wasn't ideal, but we wanted to try to help the team out a little bit with a guy that can come in, take face-offs, like you said, and kill some penalties and hopefully stabilize that fourth line center role that we lost with Obels going down.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.